A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Can we all come forward and take a seat so that we can start our program? You take the floor. Let us just make it a very informal evening. Let's have some fun, let's have some laughter, and also let's just hear what these ladies, how these ladies are changing the community, or how these ladies are forging change in the community. That is what Mythri 2022 is all about. Let us start the function. So may I invite Mr. Promise Francis, President NANMA, to deliver the welcome speech.
Hi all. First of all, I'm extending a warm Women's Day celebration. I know it's related, but it's like a warm Women's Day celebration wishes I'm extending, and I'm very delighted to be part of my mom to have this celebration. So we all gathered here. So we are celebrating Women's Day here. So do you anytime thought why we need a Women's Day? Like anytime any of you thought anyway, I'll go with that. It's actually I was searching in Google and okay. Okay.
I was wondering why we need Women's Day.
Yes. Just a part of introduction. So see, actually I was looking at Google a lot of places why we need a Women's Day. Okay. So what I was looking for a couple of speeches on Women's Day, international personalities, United Nations scope, all these things I was going through. So what I found is women is women or girls is the community in the world which is less promoted or less what I would say is I'll come to the details of that one. So what they say is currently we are in a state of this year's United Nations message was this we are in a state of pandemic, war, you are in a situation of loss of job, all these things, and women is the community in the world where you are doing a job, the most unpaid job in the world, and you are never recognized. World recognize people mainly based on the amount of money you have or the salary you accumulate. And you are one of the community in the world, why I'm saying you in the sense most we have women here. So one of the community in the world which is unpaid actually. Unpaid, but you do lump sum amount of work in the world. So impact of this one I'm saying is the woman sustain a family, and if you look woman has to impact is some harassments or if you are not powerful to have some money, you will have that discrimination in wherever you go. So That's what I feel. This is one reason, like in the world level, we celebrate a Women's Day. So next is like, if you think like in our community, right? So you will say, okay, this is something happening in the world. Why I need to bother, right? Like we are all happy, right? So if you see, like you look into your family, think like you are going for an outing. Okay, think like, okay, let's go for a party today. Like to the family you're saying, okay, like up to a restaurant or something. So if you look right, of course I'm a man, but I'll say, okay, I'm ready. Okay. So but my wife will not be ready by that time. Maybe she may take 10 moments or 15 more minutes extra. Then when she says like she's ready, I'll find my kids also ready. Okay. So when I'm ready, my kids are not ready. Okay. Say this happens everywhere. So even if we say like we treat everyone equally, we are taking the house job equally, we don't bother, like men not bothered about that one. That's what I feel. Okay, maybe part of the job. Like exceptions are there. Like there are a lot of husbands who takes out the family.
And there are many exceptions.
Yeah. But I'm saying you're majority. See, like think like you have a weekend, right? Like all have weekends. Mostly, I know like always go for a weekend party. Like not weekend like may not be a family party, maybe like a husband going for a party. Do you think you get an equal share of that party? I mean, like, do the husband bother to like get you something special if you are not going? If you are not going because of like what I say is like you have to take care of the family. All these things again. So what I'm saying, coming to is like not saying like man is so arrogant, like they're treating you bad or something. But that's what our community is like, our society is like. And we are from an Indian community. Like basically we all are from Indian community. So there you are supposed to take care of the family as well. I'm not saying other communities are not doing or like other nations are not doing, but the thing is that we are more to that one. So these are the reasons like in NANMA perspective I'd say the reasons like why we need to celebrate a woman. These are the couple of reasons I feel like we should have a representation or we should recognize people. So my part was not like my part was to have a welcome and just give a small message. So I went too much lecture on this one. So sorry for that. So now back to we have some extraordinary personalities here. Okay, so like if you take 10 years or 15 years or years back, right? Like I was looking at all your careers, like your LinkedIn profile. One of you I don't remember. That's all I listed out like I will take with me. So in that one, right? Like if you say like 10, 15, they almost like you. Okay, like maybe in age-wise they may be like 5 years or 10 years, maybe like whether you see there in after 10 years or something. Okay, so why like some extraordinary people like us who live the same life, like same family life or something, and they taken some steps, some vision, and they persuaded that vision and focused, and they achieved something which stands little separate. I'm not saying it's like a big and the globe you have, but you stay something separate. Okay, so that's what make these people who is like with us very like what says separate from us. So I thought like NANMA decided like okay, we will recognize these people and this will be a motivation for all of us who is trying to be growing like so that you can also be in this state in future. Okay, so that's what. So now
Very nice.
so now I'll call my name again. Like sorry, like I have a list of your
He
calls.
has also got a paper.
I'll call my one by one so that we will like it's my first duty is to welcome. So first I'm welcoming Sri. So like the LinkedIn says like she's the president and executive director, Rava Cultural Foundation, instructor, Kumon Math and Reading Center. Like okay. Welcome Sri.
Thank you so much. They knew that you were gonna wear blue. I know this one.
And I was looking for a pink actually, it was not having much flower, that's why. But so like you should keep it with us, it's a plan, so that Like what we say is like each flower corresponds for your achievement or something, and NANMA recognizes you. That's what.
Well chosen flower too, by the way.
Sorry?
Very well chosen flower, by the way.
Oh,
Yes, that's a very good one.
Yeah, it's an indoor one, so you can take care of everything. Okay.
I've killed some, but I've been successful with them.
Okay. Okay. Next is Sankita. She is an engineering director, supply chain technology, Walmart Global Tech. If I'm saying anything wrong here, you will actually get paid. That's what I'm saying. Because you will not get a better job next time. Okay. So next we are welcoming Krishna Verma. She's a principal broker, Verma Associates, advisory board member, Cricket of America, principal co-founder, the Connected Vegan, and owner of Indian Dharma NWA. And Krishna, you were a sponsor also last time on.
If you're taking a picture, make me look thin. Done? My husband is also taking. I have to give him some honors. Thank you guys. Thank you.
And next is Mega Rao. You have anything like this. I said this Mega Rao and I see like American, like Bank of America, some person, she's that also. It was not. So you have a website like megapirao.com, right? So that's where I got the details. So yeah, she's a director, Academy of Classical Dance, graded Doorshan artist. Okay, that's a new thing for me. Okay, I got it. Oh my god. So welcome all you to the stage. Like you are our speakers for today, and I think like NANMA is waiting to hear from you all. Okay, so and the leads like I'm welcoming you all who registered. Thanks for registering. We like and making this function a grand success. So thank you all. Once again, welcome you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Promise. Hey, when we thought about the Women's Day, we were very skeptical because we know the pandemic was out there and we don't know how an in-person show or anything will go. So we just conducted a study and saw how the response was. Actually, we were so amazed by the response that it was so nice to know that we just want to get out and do something. That was a really good motivation for us. Again, let me take you back to Mythri. Will you guys believe that 30% of American population struggle for women hygienic products, I mean the sanitary products. So that is because no coupon applies to them and it is really costly. So that is how we conducted, we a group of friends, when we were just having a regular talk, we thought about this and last time we conducted a hygienic product drive. And the response was, you guys, overwhelming. This year also I got queries asking like, hey, do we just want to come with something? Are you guys doing this? That was really overwhelming for us. So this year, we come to you guys by celebrating the woman who is forging change. Again, when I know Megha and I know Srividya, I have talked to them. But I don't know Sangeeta or I wasn't aware of Krishna either. Of course I know you, but still we haven't talked about. But still, all these 4 women, they just told me, come on, let's do it. If any one of them have told me like, let's think about it, I don't think I may be available, they could have said that easily. But still, no one said that. The way they said to me is like, let's make this happen. That was even more motivating. And we need those kind of women because we need to raise such kind of women. Here we are to listen to the inspiring journeys. I'm pretty sure we feel like they are in a very privileged space now, right? Whenever they are recognized, and they know what they are doing. We feel like they are in a very privileged space now. But the hard work they did to get there, or the hard work they are doing, is, I don't think anyone can really see that. So let's hear from them. Let's hear their story. So first, let me welcome Srividya.
so my feet start hurting. I'm the youngest of 3 kids, and I was a surprise baby. मैं हमेशा surprise में आती हूँ. My mom was 30 when she had me, and so I think my brother and sister have I think a 14-month difference, age difference, you know, and I was born almost 5-6 years after that. So the reason I start my story there is because when I was born, my mom was ready to move on from being a mother. You know, like all of us have that, a lot of us women who are mothers, we're like, you know, you go through that, you have a baby, you take care of the baby, you know, you bring it up, and the child starts going to school and things like that, and you're like, okay, now I have like 5 hours in the day that I can do what I want. So so it was very interesting that when I was born was when my mom empowered herself to step out of the house. You know, so that was how I grew up. I grew up with a mom who started working when I was in pre-K, and I believe I came home one day, you know what I mean? So I would come home from pre-K, and there would be like barely an hour, barely, and there would be one lady with me, you know, till she came home. And I believe one day after I think a week or so of this, you know, I told her, Mom, I really miss you, I don't want to be by myself or something. So the next day promptly she went and she resigned her job. So these are early memories, you know, that I have of my mom learning to balance family and work. You know, so that's, these were just underlying things, you know, this was not something I recognized at that age, obviously. But as I grew up and I thought about what she had done, it kind of, you know, it was like, oh yeah, you know, yet she also had to manage 3 of us, and she went to work, and she still followed her dreams. You know, she was very much into spirituality and all that stuff at that age. She had gone through a lot in her life, and like I said, that age 30, right? That was a time she wanted to live her life, you know, not something that was defined by her husband or her parents or her siblings or her children or anything like that. So that's where, that's first chapter, I guess, of my life. I was spoiled thoroughly according to my sister and brother. I don't agree, but according to them, because I was the youngest, you know, I didn't get as many scoldings as they got when they were younger. So they love to rub that in. I was born in Chennai, but by the time I think I was 6 or something, we moved to Delhi. So I grew up mostly in Delhi. I don't really, I didn't grow up much in Chennai. So I speak Tamil, but it's mostly only whatever my parents used to speak, you know, because that was my exposure. And I think in Delhi, I was in Tamil medium school. There's something called the Delhi Tamil Education Association, and they ran schools all over Delhi. And so I studied there for about 5 years, and it's Tamil medium till 5th grade. So thanks to that, I still know Tamil. I know the read, write, and speak Tamil. And it's very interesting. My mother was a master's in English literature. Like, we used to tease her, you know, like by mistake she was born in India. She used to laugh, like, you know, she had tea, you know, it was very English tea, like very light tea, you know, she didn't have the Indian style tea, which was very heavy, you know, things like that. She liked a lot of, like even the food, you know, like she loved to make these British style, what is it called, shepherd's pie, you know, like those kind of things, you know, like baked and with white sauce, and you know, she used to have this old, I don't know if anybody here remembers the old Bajaj oven. Any of you remember that? It's an aluminium
Tandoor type.
tandoor type, like, you know, it was electric, and you know, and I remember her baking all these things at home, which was like, oh my gosh, it was so modern in those days. And so I guess you can tell, you know, how much my mom influenced who I am today. And of course, my dad, like any other dad, I suppose, of that generation, was, you know, he would go to the office, come home, and when he watched TV, nobody dare open their mouth. He had his morning newspaper time, evening magazine time, and then the TV time, and nobody can disturb him at that time. Of course, you can disturb mom, that doesn't matter. So yeah, but my dad was somebody who gave a lot. And like today, some people ask me, you know, how do you just give? Like, you know, and that's me, you know. Anybody who's worked with me, they know I just give. You know, I love sharing, I love giving, and the non-profit world just comes easy to me because I just had that kind of upbringing. My father, every year, he would give to so many non-profits in India very regularly, whether we could. We were a middle-class family. It was nothing. It's not as if money was lying around, you know, to give. But it was important for him that he gave, and he would give to family members, you know, who didn't have money, who were not as well off as we were, or you know, were struggling or something, and he would just give. That's it. You know, no asking. I remember mom fighting with him. Why are you always just giving away everything? You have 2 daughters. Something. Yeah, I can start talking. I'm sorry. So, I did something, I don't know what it is.
Just that.
Oh, okay, let's go. So, it became, you know, the usual, right? Like, you have 2 daughters, you have to get them married off, you know, all that stuff. And he would keep saying, no, it's okay, you know, there's enough. And ultimately, my mom would also support it, you know, she would say her dialogue, you know, because that's, as parents, I suppose that's our duty, you know, to make sure our children are also taken care of. But she always supported, and so we learned from a very young age. We learned all these things, you know, to give, to contribute to community, to support like Indian culture. Like, you know, like my parents would always have these pujas and these, you know, there were a lot of in Delhi. We were migrants in a sense. We had immigrated, you know, to Delhi, because if you really think about Madras and Delhi, I mean, 2 totally different cultures, the same country.
Come to Bombay.
So, you know, in a sense, you know, they would, you know, support. There were so many, like South Indian people in Delhi, and, you know, they would support each other, and they would do all these, you know, cultural things that we would do in Tamil Nadu, you know, in Delhi, and they would, my parents would also support. They would invite them home, and, you know, have bhajans or this or kathas or whatever it was, you know, they would have. We celebrated Navratri, we put my mom would do the Golu, and, you know, so all that was part of our upbringing. So today, if you see me doing those things, it's really not a surprise. It's just very natural. It's how we grew up. So yes, I grew up in Delhi, and most of my studies, school, college, everything was there. Very hard to make friends when you're constantly moving up and down. My father was an IAS officer, and so, you know, constantly getting transferred and all. So it was very challenging. It was very funny actually. So when I came to Delhi, I used to get made fun of by my Delhi friends, like classmates, because I had a Tamil accent, you know, when I spoke. And then, when I went to Chennai, like I think I was in 6th grade, we went back to Chennai for 2-3 years. And when I went back, I remember all my Tamil, like Chennai friends making fun of me because I didn't speak the Tamil that they spoke. And so it was very funny. And I then went and did Spanish in college. And all the people, like, when I went to Spain later and I speak Spanish, they'd say, oh, you don't have an accent at all when you speak Spanish. And I actually don't. When I speak Spanish, I don't have an accent at all. But it's so funny, when I speak English, I speak very, like Indian English. Itne saal yahan pe, I've been here 20 years in America, but I still speak Indian English mostly.
Mine is different. I'll talk to you in English, and then suddenly it will start speaking in Hindi.
Hindi.
Oh, you understand Hindi?
Oh, that's absolutely,
Yes,
that's
yes.
very normal. So I did that, and so that's how schooling went, and I was always the tallest in the class. So I used to always sit in the back. So I've always stood out. And it's not easy when you're a child to stand out. It's very hard. And not having enough friends, because so I'd be here 3-4 years in this school, then I'd be there in another school for 3-4 years, and my sister, if she were here, oh my gosh, she'd fight with me. She'd say, I was in more schools than you ever were. But it was, it was never, our parents just taught us to deal with it and move on. We were, like in Tamil we say, Dukko kondadakudadu. Like, you don't celebrate the misery. You don't celebrate it. It's there in everybody's lives. So you move on from it. You celebrate the joys. That's why you celebrate. It's very important to celebrate joy, because there is enough misery anyway. So why celebrate that? It doesn't help us in any way, right? It only leads us to depression and worse. So there's no point. So those were all things we just grew up with, and my parents were those who never told any of us, all three of us, they never told us, you have to be a doctor, you have to be an engineer, or this or that, nothing. The only thing they ever said was study properly. Don't do a half-hearted job. Anything you do, don't do a half-hearted job, do it properly. So we also did that. I sucked at math. And it's quite the irony of my life that I teach Kumar. But I think I have even greater value for math because I know how much I struggled, and I didn't need to have struggled. That's the beauty of it. And so all this, and then I was doing Spanish, so I chose to do, my choice for doing college was history or Italian. Italian is what I wanted to study, okay. And then my sister, she was already married and living here in the US, so she said, don't be stupid, nobody speaks Italian in the world, only the Italians speak it. You learn Spanish because half the world speaks Spanish. So it will at least be of use, to you if you did it. So I said, okay, fine, and I did Spanish in JNU in Delhi, and those were amazing. I think the best part of your life is college life, right? I think that was the first time I was in one place for 5 years, 6 years, and I actually made some, proper friends. I was in a group, we were I think 8 or 10 people, that's it, in class. We started I think 15 strong, and it came down to just 8 or 10 of us at that time. This is 1994, 95. I'm dating myself here terribly, but and so a lot of my friends, so I think we were 3 girls, and I think about 6 boys or something like that in class. And the other 2 girls would not really get much into the class. Like they would come, they would go, they wouldn't really mingle much. So these boys, they used to all keep coming to me and ask me for my notes, because half the time they won't come to class. So it started over there, saving people. Acha, phone up, let's go. Here are my notes. And it was amazing because I learned so much. I think learning about another culture, learning another language, which meant we had to learn history, politics, literature, like everything, you name it, music, just culture overall, everything we had to learn. And when you do that, you really start understanding more about yourself and your own culture. You start learning more about it. So I was very fortunate that I also got this opportunity to go live in Spain for a year to study, to do a master's. I have 3 master's degrees. And this was my second one that I went to Spain for, and I think it was the best. I mean, if you have children that are going to college, I very strongly recommend that you send your kids to another country, for however long you are willing to send them, but send them, because I think that experience really helps you grow up. I think I was like super excited the first 2 months, like so excited I couldn't, I couldn't bear it, oh my gosh, I'm here in Spain. And then the 3rd month, I was ready to pack up and go home. I wanted mom. Where's Kartika? Yeah, I wanted home. That's another story. But I wanted to go home. I was like done. I was not ready to live by myself, and no. So, and I was 21 or something at that time. It's not like I was even a teenager. So that having to stay there that 10 months, and I was engaged at that time already, and we had a 10-month engagement period, and so kind of starting learning to maintain a long distance relationship, handling living abroad like that, in a place where people didn't understand what it meant to be a vegetarian, like I would ask for vegetarian food, like in Spanish I would say, hey, I want vegetarian food, and they'll bring me seafood. Because like tuna is considered vegetarian, it's like, it's just
Vegetable of the ocean.
It's of the ocean, exactly. They consider it, that's what they think it is. They cannot believe, they don't understand what it means to eat without any kind of meat. It has to be some kind of meat. So seafood is the closest to vegetarian we get. So very challenging, and so I learned to sort of order food, and I would say vegetarian. Then I had to say no tuna, no seafood. I had to list everything. So you learn so many things about when you live by yourself. It was, I think, the best time of my life in that sense, because I think if I had married before that, I don't think I would have been able to sustain who I was. I don't think what my mother did when she was 30, I don't think I could have done it, if not for that experience. So I think it was very, very, very valuable lesson and part of who I am today. And then I got married and moved here to America. We used to live in Minnesota before, and the coldest place I can think of. It must be so cold. But then you're young and you don't feel the cold as much, I suppose. Both my children were born there, and you typically in India, you know about New York, and my sister had been living in California, so you kind of know the West Coast and the East Coast, but nobody really knows. No Indian, I think, on average knows anything about the Midwest. It's just like something in the middle. America's break and there's something in the middle. So it was a very interesting, culturally it was very interesting to be in a place like Minnesota, where there's a lot of Native American culture also, and there is the other American culture also, and they tend to be, they were actually, they're conservative and yet very liberal, and actually I don't think I ever had a anti-racial experience in Minnesota. I don't think so. I can't really think of it. I've had some experiences here in Arkansas, but not there. So it was a great time exploring. I remember so I got married in 2001 in June, and then September 11 happened. And I remember my husband, I used to wear salwar kameez, like every day I would wear salwar kameez or a sari, or like I was an adult, right? I was like grown up and I was married, and so I used to just wear that. And I remember my husband telling me once, he said, no, don't wear that. Like, we were going just to the store, to get groceries. He said, no, don't wear that. I said, why? No, right now, it's all too much tension. Because at that time, like, average American doesn't know, right? Like, he thinks everybody's Muslim, if you wear something different. So it was, so that was, like I said, it was not that someone else came and told me that. It was my own husband who told me that. And he was obviously very bothered, about me. That's why he told me that. And these things, they started somewhere, they started working on, about, okay, so truly we are still not very free. We talk about freedom, we talk about equality, but we truly are not free and equal, right, in so many ways. So, both my kids were born, and then major change in job lines for my husband. He used to work for Northwest Airlines, which got sold to Delta Airlines at that time. I was doing a PhD at University of Minnesota, which I didn't finish, which was my third master's. And then we moved, by God's grace, he got his job at Walmart, because it was a very tough time actually at that time. It was, we were on an H1, and I think a lot of you understand the tension of an H1. And he had tried actually to go back, because I always wanted to go back. I was not too keen on living in America. He was back home, all my friends were back home, like everything I knew was back home, right? I didn't really know too many people here. So I wasn't very keen, and children were still very young, so I said, let's just go back. And he did try, but he couldn't accept the work environment there, and things like that. And he had already lived outside of India for many years by that time. Like he had already, that's a different story, but he had already lived for quite a few years outside of India. So he wasn't too keen, and this Walmart job happened, so we moved here. And the first time we came here, which I think each one of you will say, was like, while driving from the airport, all we saw were the cows. And 3 years, like 15 years ago, I was like, what the hell, what is this place? I told my husband, I said, typically, we go from small villages to bigger cities, that's how life is supposed to be. I've lived all Delhi, Chennai, all big cities, and then I can't keep coming to smaller cities. This is like a village, like what is this, where are we coming, what is this? And, but then I didn't even know there was, I didn't know how big Walmart was. I didn't know anything. I was all about my Spanish and my teaching, and that was my world. So then we moved here, and I started Kuman because we wanted some enrichment for our kids. And my background, I think I was in kindergarten when I decided I wanted to be a teacher, and that never changed. So I said okay, and started teaching, and I loved the job. I hated the business side of it because I don't have any business background. So when we first started, this was what, 2010? 2009, I signed the contract. I started training with Kuman, I think in 2009, and then in 2010, I opened my doors. And in 1 year, that first 1 year, I learned so much about running a business, and Kuman has these licensing requirements also. Like I had to finish a certain amount of worksheets and things like that. I finished everything in 1 year with 2 kids. House, we just moved to our own home at that time. So everything happened that 1 year. It was all that 1 year. So you learn, I think now after so many years, you learn that when things happen, they just happen together. That's it. You're never going to have things happen to you one after the other. There's that Hindi saying, जब भगवान देता है छप्पड़ फाड़ के देता है. Like he just gives you. You can take it as something negative or positive. That's your choice. But when he gives, he just gives. So yeah, it was a tough time. It was a very tough time, and I opened my center in Lowell, Arkansas. And Anita, who runs the Bentonville Center, just opened here. She opened 2009 September. I opened Lowell in 2010 in January. So it was just like 3-4 months away from each other. And there were so many people here. I didn't know that many people, but there were, of those few people I knew, a lot of people here in the Indian community used to tell me, why are you opening a center in Lowell? Nobody will come. I'm opening a center, okay? And in 2 months, I'm opening a center and this is what I got. This is the support I got from everybody that I knew. Why are you opening and no one's going to come? I was like, okay, like why wouldn't anybody come? Like, what's going on? Is there something, is there a memo that I missed? And so I learned, when I started my 2-month center, it was not just this, there were so many people who came and they used to ask me, they used to look at me and just because of the color of my skin and because of the way I spoke, they would ask me, are you qualified to teach English? And I was like, oh, yeah, I think so. And that's when I put up all my 3 master's degrees in my center. I put them up. Till then I didn't have all that because I had been brought up to not show off, what you know and things like that. So after the 3rd time somebody asked me that question, I just put up my master's degrees and I started pointing to that. I said, I have 3 master's degrees in languages, teaching of languages, and language theory. I can talk to you for hours about how children learn language, how the human brain learns language. So much I can tell you. So yeah, I think I can teach English. So it was a very interesting experience. The first few years taught me a lot about how to stand up for myself. And I ran one of the best quality centers in the entire Dallas branch, the Houston branch area of Kumon. It's one of the highest quality centers here, and I'm like that's it. The only thing perhaps I don't have is I don't know, I'm not overcrowded, but I enjoy the job, and that's when I started learning more about success, the word success, right? So too often, and even today, when I see on LinkedIn and everywhere, people keep posting about success, and they always associate success with money and fame. Like how many people do you know? Or how much money have you made? How many businesses do you own or have owned? Or, it's numbers. Everyone's always looking at numbers of some sort. And I learned that actually success has nothing to do with numbers. It has to do with your happiness and joy and the people with whom you work. Like all my staff at Kumon, you can go tell them, hey, will you come and work for me here or there? They will not leave me. It's really, they've told me, and it's a fact, they will not. It's just a part-time job, it's not some big, it's not like I pay them so much money or anything like that. And that's when I learned that, because I value that so much. Like I said, you're an immigrant. The first time we moved here to a place, all the movings in my life, first time I had come to a place where I didn't know even one person. I always knew somebody, you go from Chennai to Delhi, you know somebody, you have friends, you have family, you have something, a family member's friend, and things like that. And first time I came here and I didn't know anybody. Who's it? Zero. And like I said, zero support. And my mom, from India telling me, why are you leaving the children and starting a business? Take care of the children. Same mom, who used to go to work with me as a kid. Now as a grandmother, she's like, oh, my poor babies, So it was, again, like I said, it's a very interesting time. But yeah, I think it's been 12 years, and running a business has its own frustrations. There's a lot of frustrations and a lot of problems. We celebrate the joys. We choose to focus on the positive and we move on. We just move on. Am I almost done?
You have to tell that. You have to tell that. Yeah, exactly. We're interested.
So after that, 2016 was a very eventful time. My son was born with some issues with his ear and all that stuff. How much we've never been to a doctor or a hospital with my daughter, we made up with my son. So he had to have a lot of surgeries and things like that when he was very young, when he was in kindergarten, first grade, second grade. So the way he grew up is very different from the way my daughter grew up. And again, that was another very big learning point for me as a mother, as a person, as an individual, because until you're faced with some problems that you don't have the answer to. Because a lot of problems you have the answers, you can work, you can do something about it and you can do it. These are problems that you can't do anything about. If he can't hear, that's it. You can go get surgery, you can get hearing aids, you can do whatever you want. But he can't hear, and he's had other health issues, and so a lot of my energy, had to start moving towards that. And we did, and we realized suddenly that we were doing a lot of things for Mythri, like she was dancing, she was doing violin, this, that, so many things, and poor fellow, because he couldn't sustain anything between all these health issues, so we then finally decided and, did the thread ceremony, that we do for the boys. So we went to India and we did that. And then big celebration, Mythri, did a small dance performance, and my parents were so thrilled, and a lot of the elders of the family were there to watch it and everything. And lo and behold, within 2 months and 8 months after that event, both my parents passed away out of the blue. Like it was just a sudden change in our lives, and so it was literally like that event. His death ceremony was kind of the last celebration we had, as a family. So that happened in June, and then August 10, my mom passed, and then the following exact 6 months later, my dad also passed away. And that moment was just life-changing for me, because I wrote actually on my Facebook that I had become an orphan, and that word orphan, it's you really don't realize when you lose. Typically, you lose one parent and you'll have another parent. Like typically, like there are people who lose both their parents. I'm not the only one who's lost both of them, perhaps. But it suddenly changes your entire. We all have a certain reference point in life, right? Your parents are that first reference point. You've been with them for 20 years, 25 years, whatever, until you branch off. And to lose that compass is very hard. Suddenly you're like, what do I do now? And you become, that generation is gone, right? So now you are that next generation. So all this, this Shadi Mai Jana, this, being invited for these social things, all that now has changed. Because your parents are not there, right? So it was really an earth-shattering time, and it took me about a couple of years. I came back from my dad's funeral. I went for both the funerals. I stayed exactly for those 2 weeks, and I came back from my dad's funeral, and first thing I told my husband was, I'm going to start another business. And he just looked at me and he said, are you crazy? I said, no, I'm very clear. I want to do more. Whatever it is, I want to do more, and I'm going to do it. And he said, okay, fine. And it took me about a couple of years. It took me exactly a couple of years. And I decided I didn't want to do a business. I wanted to do a non-profit. And that it was going to be Rave Cultural Foundation, which is named for my parents, Raji and Venkat, as they were known throughout their lives. And the idea was, again, it brought back that point of immigration. It was all about, we are immigrants here, and it's just like my parents were immigrants in Delhi, with all of us, and they did their best to teach us Bharatanatyam, and they wanted us, it was not about whether you became a big dancer or a singer. That was not the point. The point was, you were in touch with your culture, you were in touch with your heritage, and that's not something you just erase just because you don't have opportunity. Because it was so hard, to find Bharatanatyam teachers in Delhi at that time. It was not easy. But, they made it happen. So that the more I thought about what I wanted to do, I realized that that's what I wanted to do for the next generation of people here. And I know here in Bentonville, I know how much we have struggled to sustain, dance and music and, all that stuff. If any of you have lived here for more than 15 years, I think you'll have an idea of how many people have moved in and moved out and how hard it is to do that. So that's how Rave started. And we've been, I think all of you kind of know what we do there and just continue. When we started Rave, before that we used to do something called Sargam, and we don't know how many people came and told us that it would be a failure. Nobody will come. Sounds familiar, no? Nobody will come. It's amazing how many people will come and tell you nobody will come. There are perhaps one person who will tell you, hey, that's awesome what you're doing. So, what I'm trying to tell you is, if anybody tells you nobody will come, or don't do this, it's going to be a flop. Listen to them, okay, pay attention. Perhaps that's good advice, pay attention. But if that's really what you want to do, it's okay. Like I said, success has nothing to do with money or numbers, okay? Success has to do with you and how happy you are at the end of it. So just go and do it, and I did it, and we are still here, we're doing it. And last year, during the pandemic, there was a lot of need I saw a lot of people around me that I knew who were beginning to lose faith in themselves, who were especially women, were beginning to lose faith in themselves and didn't want to, didn't understand how to move forward because, the pandemic had created that kind of situation. So I started a mentoring business where I mentor mainly, my focus is to mentor Indian women and to set them up for success, again. Understand what success means for yourself. It could be something different for you, but to kind of help women understand, especially Indian women, understand that you don't have to be stuck. You don't have to be stuck. Whatever that stuck is for you, okay? And you can move on. And so I started. I'm now involved in a couple of mentoring projects in Arkansas, and I hope to grow that in the future with more participation and things like that. So that's where I am right now. So thank you so much for doing this and inviting me and listening to me. Thank you. I hope it's very fun.
Thank you so much, Vidya. I think we traveled from Chennai to Delhi to United States to Spain. What a beautiful story behind Ravi, right? That is a determination. That is, if she can do it, I believe we all can do it. That's what she was trying to say that too. Get empowered. Don't wait for anybody to come and help you or bring you up, or don't wait for anybody to just wave a magic wand or something will change. No, it's we that who have to change. All right, so moving on. So I don't know if you guys believe in luck. Do you guys believe in luck? You guys do? Okay, let's see if we have some lucky ladies out here. So, or behind two chairs, there is a small bindi, just like mine. And see if you are the lucky one. Well, you guys can try that too. Get up, ladies, and see. A small, well, it's not real. You have. Did I tell you that? So it's not lying. We have one more.
Don't give up, guys.
Yeah. You have it? You just, alright. So let me my promise to give away 2 chocolates here. Promise I have. Yep. So yes, we do believe in luck.
I don't. So I'll start.
Megha, can you please come forward? Hey Megha, please come forward. Kartika, come on up.
You never miss out on chocolate,
You know that your daughter is looking right. There you go. All right. See, we are still kids or chat with mind. But let's not let one chocolate spoil the whole mood. Let's move on. May I invite Sangeeta? So as we know, Sangeeta is in the corporate management team of Fortune First Company. I'm so sorry, I don't know. I'm not from IT background, so I really don't know how to say all big words. But still, let me invite you to share her story. I'm pretty sure that her story will be different, but yet entertaining.
Good afternoon, everyone. So it's definitely an honor to sit in front of you and share my personal and professional journey. So just like Srividya said, I think I've been very blessed to have inspirations from just within my family, starting with parents, and I believe that's the case. Even though I do believe that anybody you meet has a story to share that you can learn something from, or it resonates with you, right? Like, okay, I had similar experiences, maybe I could do something different to improve. I grew up in the northern part of Kerala all throughout my 10th and 12th, and my first inspiration, just like most of you guys, my mom. She is somebody who did not have the courage to pursue her dreams. She was the youngest of 3 girls in their family, and she was almost 18 years younger than her eldest sister. So definitely there was that pressure in the family to get all 3 girls married off, and by the time it was her turn, she really wanted to go to college, learn biology, be a doctor, and all that. So, but did not have the courage to say no and push back and do it herself. So she definitely got married. And I've seen from childhood how she has, instead of letting herself down, she came into a joint family. She was from a very protected family where parents did everything for her, but coming into a joint family, it was almost 6 nuclear families within that joint family. We had lots of cousins. We enjoyed as kids, of course, but with that comes a lot of responsibility, being the daughter-in-law in a family and being the nice one, right? So I've seen her go through all the struggles and adapt to that, but she never took the focus away from, making sure that her kids, 2 of us, excelled in everything that we wanted to do. We had the freedom to do anything that we wanted to do, really. So she lived her dreams through us. That's the way I think about it. So I learned from my mom is basically life could throw a curveball at you at any time. So don't let that knock you down, right? It's a saying out there. You get up, readjust and move forward in life. So that, at that time I did not understand it, but when I reflect back on my life journey, that's what I've learned from her. My dad, just like most of the girls, he is my hero and will always be. Not just because he is my dad, but he taught me the importance of giving back, very similar to Srividya's example, I would say. But it's amazing how he has the ability to connect with people, right? And be genuinely interested in them. So, he would spend hours if it's a problem that he wants to solve for them, or it's an accomplishment that they have had, right? So those things have stuck with me. It's had a great influence on the personality and how it shaped me for being ready, whether it's in my professional life or it's parenting, for that matter. I've always kind of carried it forward with me, and I think I have influenced my kids to also think and build that kind of a personality. So then I get to, after my 2 years of college, I get to go out of state, and I'm very thankful that I took that opportunity. I did have the opportunity to stay back home with my parents at the same time to go out of state and do my 4 years degree. I'm thankful I did that because that's the first time that I really got out of that environment where I was protected, told what to do, and there was somebody always watching out for me. I had to make decisions on my own, learn to be independent, right? Like, you talk about all these terms of making the right judgment, making right decisions, all that started at a young age, actually, if you think about it. Anybody who's working in a corporate environment, you hear all these terms, don't get worried about it. These are things that you have been doing from your childhood, really, to reflect back on your memories and your journey itself. That's that chapter of my life has taught me many things, people from different backgrounds coming to college, and we being the support system for each other. Learn to rely on a community, right? Like community can be big or small. Again, it's people who think like you, maybe sometimes it's people who look like you, same background, but always have a sounding board, a community that you identify yourself as part of. So then I get married after 4 years of college, maybe 9 months actually in between. Definitely been thankful to get a partner who's been a partner in all respects. Like he is the one who taught me to be independent. Like coming out of a family that my dad did everything for us. Like my mom was a housewife, so he did everything like a head of the family usually do, right? But the experience that I had after I got married was much more of, I'll be here to guide you, but you have to do your own things, right? That was very difficult. In the beginning, I thought he really did not like me, right? So, but I have only things to say to thank him for doing that, because that did definitely set me up to get into the corporate world and be more successful, because I started becoming more independent, being able to speak up, and a lot of things. So one more person I have to mention who's had an influence in my life is my mother-in-law. She was on the other extreme of my mom, where she fought through, like she grew up in a village in Thrissur actually. And she fought for, to follow her dreams, to go into college and earn a degree, and get a job for herself, right? Like, so it was to the extent that her dad would not speak to her. She left home, and at that time, this was like, she's 82 now. So at that time, leaving home and finding somebody, an extended family who could support her in Kochi, and went to college there at Maharajas, and then she landed in Mumbai finding a job, all doing it herself, right? Like, so she was that influence for me to never give up, right? Truly, even though it was very few years in my life, but she has had an influence. So I started my professional career with a lot of good foundation, a lot of people to kind of influence. So I don't take the credit for most of it, but I'm thankful definitely to have that starting point, that foundation to be successful. Again, success in my mind is not a role or a title or money. It's what makes you feel happy, accomplished, fulfill your dreams, and it's different for each one of us, right? So talking about my professional side, it's been definitely a journey, as well as there are lots of things anybody who's thinking about starting a career could read about, listen to TED Talks, a lot of things out there in Google that you can, watch and prepare yourself. But things that I wanted to, that I wished I had somebody who was a mentor, who told me these things. I could have probably done a little better and a little faster, moved up in my career, is what I wanted to talk to you guys about. Because it was like, I was probably the first of the 5 or 6 families moved to Bentonville. So I really did not have a lot of people to look up to that really looked like me, whether it's a skin color or my background or my culture. But I had a very strong sounding board of peers actually. We all grew up together in that community, that small community, and it's grown so much. It's so nice to see that we have a large Indian community here in Bentonville. That was not the case. So she talked about the cows example. Like when I came from India, we came to Bentonville directly, right? I've never left Bentonville since then. It was in '98 July, and we came to the Fayetteville airport. It does not even exist today. And it's like coming from Mumbai, we are looking for like US. You think about tall buildings. And there was this lady standing at the door, getting ready to close the airport after we get out. So it's like we were thinking, where did we land? We're not going to survive here more than probably 6 months, right? Look for the next project to work on. Yeah, so coming back to a few things that I wanted to share that you could think about if you're thinking about starting your career or in that journey for yourself and you've not heard about it is like, number one is find a seat at the table. You might have heard it, read about it, right? Like what it means to me was really when I started my career, I would, did not have that confidence. Like most of the time, my career has been all in engineering, right? Programming, coding, related work. So you would go into a meeting and it's generally 1 or 2 women, and some meetings no women at all, right? I'll be the only person in the room. So in that scenario, I would always take the seat that's the back row by the wall, right? Somehow you felt comfort in the wall. I think it would support you. But, never even question why I'm going for a meeting, right? Like what's my role in there? What is the value I can provide in that meeting? If not, why should I be there, right? Really having that confidence to think through that and the maturity to think through that, right? With experience and through observations, what I've learned is like if you have been called for a meeting, doesn't matter what it is, right? Like whether it's your project, whether it's some general meeting that you're called into, if it's not informational, you definitely need to ask that question about, why are you there, right? You should not be spending any time if you don't have anything to contribute to, really. And if you know that, if you understand what the scope of that meeting is, find a seat at the table, right? Be able to have a face-to-face conversation. Doesn't matter it's a woman or a man sitting in front of you, right? Like you build that confidence that I'm here to present a matter that I'm an expert in, right? And definitely don't leave the room without sharing that idea. And it applies to men and women equal. I've seen in my journey, it is something that I talk to men all the time too, actually, who are junior to me, trying to, grow in their careers and develop themselves, right? So that's one. Second one is like, these were all things that was also a change for anybody who's come from India. The work environment there, even though it was very short for me, is like you would be assigned the work to do, right? Like you generally take orders from somebody and you're micromanaged to an extreme, where you get rewards for what you do and you wait for the next assignment to come to you from somebody, your manager or someone. Whereas in the US corporate culture, it is more about you manage your career, right? It took me a long time to understand what that means, really. So, and today I do definitely appreciate that. Like, I feel like I have the best of both worlds when I look at my upbringing plus an environment where you can manage your career. That's like very powerful, right? Like, where you think about, you ask for the next assignment based on your interest, or something seems very interesting for you. You want to take charge, take the next project, ask for it. Don't sit back and think that somebody else will find you and give you that next task to work on, right? And continuous learning becomes part of it too, right? Like you observe what others are doing, what the company needs, what the organization needs, and train yourself, right, to find the next best job. Don't sit back. You definitely have to manage your own career. So third one is about feedback. Definitely think about feedback as a gift for sure, because whether it's you giving it or you receiving it, right? Because it's very hard for all of us to think about, anything good, it's easy, right? Like it's easy to give and take also, but if it's an opportunity, it's very hard for you to recognize that that's a feedback, that's something that I need to be improving on. But even if it's a perception that's out there, right? Somebody thinking that, you could improve in something. I have always taken it as it's a gift for you, right? If you can change that perception, you are learning something new, you are changing something about you that you can make an impact. The last one is about, for me, it is more than prioritization, it's work-life balance. I think all of us talk about it, a lot of us struggle with it. So that's very personal in my mind, work-life balance. It's not like a checklist that you can share with another person, because it's again goes back to what is success to you, what is happiness to you. Usually you find that my experience has been when I had kids, and now when my parents are aging, these are the two situations in life where work becomes lower priority sometimes. But it doesn't mean you give up your career. It doesn't mean that you do less at work. Every day is something that you learn for yourself. Because like maybe you missed your son's soccer game or something one day because you schedule a meeting or somebody else scheduled on top of your schedule, right? So change it for the next time, right? Like try and see. There's nothing to worry as far as like to feel guilty that you missed a soccer game, or it could be the other way around also. You missed an important meeting that you should have been part of, that would have been a career breakthrough or something, but never give up, right? Try and personalize that work-life balance for yourself is what I would do, I would say. And that's what I tell people who come to me and ask how do you balance between work and life, right? So those are the 4 things that I noted down in my mind to talk to you. Maybe that would help some of you at least. Talking about my contributions to the community as such, I think with experience I've gone through the journey, starting with mentoring programs, which are much more one-to-one, right? Like somebody in your team, your peer, your colleague is trying to improve on something, and you would talk to that person. It's more one-on-one. Then gradually it's moving to at a team level, an org level, and a community level, right? So definitely there are lots of programs. I don't know how many if any of you work at Walmart. I know Ashwin does here. And Darshana, you too. Yeah, so there are a lot of mentoring circles and mentoring programs that we have that I've been part of implementing and developing to empower women in tech, especially, not just women in tech, but in general for everybody, right? So that's given me experience and liking to do, to give back again, right? Like to impact larger group of people, community, and such. So I definitely, one of the causes that I'm very passionate about is education, especially for underprivileged kids. So I'm part of what Mental Health Schools does in partnership with Walmart is to help junior high school students think about the importance of higher education and plan for the future, prepare for the future. Plus, I also work with an organization back home in Mumbai. It's an organization that runs a night school for kids who don't have the privilege to go to school during the usual time, because either they have to care for their siblings or they go to work themselves. They come in the night and study. So it's about empowering them with science and technology related work, or education is something that I'm part of too. Also, there is, if anybody is interested in community solving problems and issues for community, as such, very recently I've come across the Leadership Benton County. I'm not sure if you guys have heard about it, but it was a very good training to get involved with community issues, more local issues and such, right? Like that, for me, that was the next step. If I had to choose a second career in my life, I want to do something that's much more closer to the community, for sure. And Walmart has given me a very solid foundation to have improved in my interest, right, my area of interest. So I've taken every opportunity in the organization, in the company to build that leadership skills, basically, to be ready. As far as like to leave, you know, leave you all with something to think about. What I was thinking is, definitely be part of a community if you're not, right? Like again, you define what community is. It could be just a group of women that like to talk about movies, or it could be a group of people who have similar interests trying to get into workforce or something like that sort. Always have something that you can identify yourself to, because everybody has a story to share and you will learn something that inspires you, right? So definitely don't think you are alone in it, right? There are always people like you for anything that you want to do. Second thing would be, I would definitely say, for anybody who's a parent, mom, or thinking of having kids, right? Like it's very important that we encourage our kids to be courageous, brave about life, right, in general, because we all grew up with the understanding that we all have to be perfect in what we do. That's why we don't have confidence many times to speak up or share an idea, you know, and wonder what the other person will think about you, right? So definitely encourage them. If you have kids at home, you know, let them be courageous, let them be brave to do what they want to do, and be there to support them, right? And don't expect them to be perfect in what they do. Third one is my personal favorite, is there is definitely a gap in tech fields for women, for sure. So if you have girls at home, definitely encourage them to look at a career in computer science or technology, or at least if their interest is somewhere else, right? Like still, you know, there are many high school courses that you can take to learn what it's about. Or at the same time, join a club if you cannot spend that one credit towards computer science classes. At least join a club and understand what it is. It would change your life, right? Like as far as what you're interested in doing. But definitely from a future standpoint, they need to understand where the jobs are and what kind of opportunities you would get in that field. Thank you.
You want to give the
This is all taken care of.
Thank you so much. And now we know where to go or who to ask if you have any questions related to kids or their college or anything. There is she. Thank you so much, Sakina. It was very realistic and practical points, right? We all have that guilt feeling when we miss something, right? And we feel like we try to cover it up or we try to make it up with too much hard work, but sometimes it's okay to let it go, right? So next is Megha. Megha feels like a person to her home because we often talk about Megha Aunty. Megha Aunty is what Anu calls her. So as you know, Megha is a professional Bharatanatyam performer, and moreover, she is a very guru or a very talented teacher. Let me invite Megha to share her story.
Hello, if I look confident, please don't go with it. I have palpitations right now. I call it mycophobia. I can't speak and then okay, give me 5 minutes. But disclaimer before even I start, I love my family. My family loves me. There is no hard feelings, and I owe everything to my family. And whatever I am today, it is because of my family, both negative and positive. So I come from a very, very conservative Hindu family, and as many of you know, like how they show in movies, typically very conservative Hindu family, where my grandfather had told me, "Oh, you don't have to work, you have to just go and cook. So no matter how much you dance, it doesn't matter." My grandmother had told me that. Yeah, you're not good at studies, so it doesn't matter. And but my family is filled with doctors. My dad is a doctor. My brother is a doctor. My sister-in-law is a doctor. Half my cousins are doctors, and half my cousins are engineers. And I dreamt of becoming a surgeon or a gynecologist because I wanted to work with my dad in our nursing home. I've watched surgeries, I've watched deliveries, I've watched cesarean, right when I was 5 years of age, they used to let me in because, it was our nursing home. But that was my dream. Like, it was my dream from within. I had known nothing better but to become a doctor. That shattered when one of the patients of my dad asked me, "What do you want to do, for your future?" And I said, "I want to become a doctor, a gynecologist, or a surgeon, and I want to, be with my dad and be in Mandya and help people here." And she laughed. I was like, "Why? That is not possible." I just couldn't understand. I was like pre-teens at that time. And I used to do homework in my nursing home. I used to literally laze around in nursing home with my parents because my parents had started from scratch. Their life started from scratch. So I would be with them in the nursing home. My education happened in nursing home. My playful acts happened in nursing home. My entire life was in the nursing home with my parents. So I couldn't understand why I couldn't be a doctor. And she very, gleefully said, "Oh, that's because this nursing home will go to your brother. You would get married and go to your husband's house." That shattered my dreams into pieces where I could not put it together. And I can feel the lump in my throat when I, relive those memories. That was that shattered dream because up until then I knew nothing. I wanted to be a doctor. That's all I knew. I wanted to be with my parents. Luck is what I believe in. Although I have everything in my life, I got everything in my life. I consider myself very privileged. I had to struggle for each and everything. Like even for a single permission, I had to literally beg my mom. Like I'm just giving you a small example. Nothing came free for me. Everything I had to literally beg, like on my knees and beg for each and every silly thing. But looking back at it, I got everything, and I'm very thankful for that. At the moment when you're struggling, you might not realize that what ways, what doors are opening for you. You just see the struggle. That's why I consider today very lucky, because although I struggled, I got things that I dreamt of. I got things what I want. So at that point when my dream shattered, I realized the only other thing that I know was dance, like subconsciously, unconsciously, I had invested myself in dance so much. Now dance also came to me not because I was interested in dance. My mom literally woke me up from my sleep and pulled me to dance class and just dropped me there and like, "Okay, you start dance class from today," because her mom did not let her dance. And as I said, conservative family. So my grandparents were like, "No, no, no dancing on stage, no singing on stage, no dance class." So that's how my mom took it as a challenge, and she was like, "You did not let me learn dance. I'm teaching my daughter dance and music, and I'll make sure that she's performing on stage." So she was the driving force behind me dancing, and then of course my teacher who encouraged me throughout, who saw, God knows what she saw, but she saw everything that I'm today. And it was these two women in my life that pushed me to where I am today. Having said all these things, my mom was also the one who methodically taught me that women are not supposed to be independent. She was working, let me remind you that. She was working with my dad. My mother-in-law was working. But she methodically taught me, and she was very honest with it, that I'm not supposed to think for myself. My husband will do that for me. I'm supposed to take care of my husband's family. I can ask my husband's permission and do whatever I want. I am not supposed to earn before marriage, and she made sure that I did not earn before marriage. I did not go to job before marriage, because, can anybody think? Because I would reject men that would come for. I'm sure many of you have gone through this. So I was not allowed to work. The funniest part was when I asked my mom if in case this was the first guy I saw and I got married to him. But when he had come to see, I said yes. But previous day we had a fight because I asked her a doubt if I knew what to do if I like. But what do I do if I don't like? You know what she said? She was like, you already made up your mind that you don't like this guy and you want to run away with somebody. You tell me if you have somebody in your mind. Don't let us arrange everything and then you just, elope with somebody. I'm like, I just asked you a simple question. What am I supposed to do? So this was my upbringing. She was very strict, and she had this belief that you're not supposed to trust your kids. If you trust your kids will get spoiled. Technically you're not supposed to be independent, and you're supposed to be, whatever your husband wants. And this from my birth to my adulthood. So when I got married, that was very natural to me to be dependent, and that's all I knew. But thankfully, my mother-in-law is a very independent woman, and she's like, she says if it's right, it's right, it's wrong, it's wrong. And I'm closer to my mother-in-law compared to my mother in a lot of ways. She had no problem me wearing anything. Like she called me and asked, "Do you wear spaghetti tops?" And this was like, because my parents wouldn't let me wear jeans and tee, because, the people would see me differently. So they wouldn't let me wear anything that is tight-fitting, nothing that is Western. So that is my upbringing, to directly my mother-in-law asking me, "Do you wear spaghetti top?" And my husband buying me shorts and tees. I was like, where am I? So, having said all these things, again, men in India are brought up differently. It's not their fault, it's how the society is. So when I got married and came, my husband has no idea about dance. And let me give you a brief description about how a dancer's life is, or any musician. We live, drink, breathe, see, hear, only art. And that to my engineer husband is like a death sentence. Poor thing, God knows where he, said yes, and he just got stuck with me. But as I said, I don't know anything apart from dance and music. I don't like general knowledge, grocery, money, electricity bill. I don't know anything. I know cooking. I know how to take care of house. I know how to take care of sick people because that's what I've seen all my life. And I know dance, and that's it. So when I wanted to step up and start my own institute and dance and tour and dance, It was a big no from my entire family, very family that encouraged me to learn dance all my life. The very family that wanted me to do masters in dance, PhD in dance, BA in dance, Vidvat exam, junior exam, everything in dance. This is the very family that said, why do you want to start a business? Why do you want to run dance class? You don't need to do that. You just dance and be happy. And I couldn't understand because although I was methodically trained to not be independent, I desired to be independent because I wanted to take control of my life and I was hoping that that would happen after my marriage. But then I didn't know how. And to be honest, if it was not for Vidya's women empowerment, I would have still been inside my house with my kids, not knowing how to step up for myself, not know. It's not that my husband doesn't let me do anything or lets me do anything. It's I don't know. I didn't know where to start. I was not told not to respect myself. I was told to be selfless. So, even to think of myself and go to a beauty parlor, I felt guilty. And I'm sure many of you have gone through it. It's not just, I'm alone. And, when my first one was born, I was still in that nutshell and I sunk into such a deep hole because that is not where I wanted to be. And that's when, this is why I say, I believe in luck. Because when you start thinking of something, when you have that conviction, when you want to get out, get there, get something, when you so strongly want it, universe hears it. Yes. And you start surrounding yourself with people that will be your backbone. So don't ever stop yourself from thinking. Think, have wishful thinking, and it will come true. If it's strong enough, it will come true. And I am speaking this out of my own experience. So when my second one was born, I made sure that I planned the pregnancy for the second one very immediately because by then I wanted to have a family. I wanted to have the complete family of my thinking that was put in my brain that you need to have 2 kids from my mom, and I can't break free from that. I wanted to have those 2 kids, but I also wanted to be done with that having 2 kids and start my career. I was done waiting for all my life to start that career, to stand up for myself, and then get married and wait 10 more years to start 2 more kids, have family, because once you have kids it's a commitment for life. So the way I planned it is, I wanted to have kids back to back, so that 5 years of my life, I trained them how to eat, how to wash their bum, and that's the basic thing that I can do as a mother. And I'm not, exaggerating it, I'm not hyping it. This is how I thought, this was my thought process because I wanted to get out of, holding myself back. And when my second child was born, it was a turnaround because both of them were girls, and I was a girl who was struggling, who had, been brainwashed into thinking that I'm nothing but a housewife, and I am born to serve a family. I'm born to, take care of my husband. Even today, when my mom calls, you have to take care of your husband. Did you feed him? I'm like, he's not a child anymore. After 12 years of marriage, please don't tell me this. My husband is better thinker than what you are. And she's been a working woman all her life. And she called me the other day and then she was like, why are you, starting one more batch of dance class? Why are you traveling to perform? I feel so bad for your kids that, they're brought up like orphans. Yeah, I was brought up in nursing home. I never thought I was brought up orphan. My husband was, literally with my grandparents until his mom came home from office, 9 to 5 job. So we were not orphans. So how can my kids be orphan? And grandparents doesn't want to come to US because they have their own life. What are we supposed to do? So, given my scenario, I had to put my foot down and tell myself and pull myself out of that, dark hole and say, this is my family. If not now, never. And I stepped up. You know what happened when I stepped up? My parents started telling that, oh, she only dances, my entire family, she only dances, she doesn't do anything. And they would come here, once a year, they would take care, of the entire house for that 3 months cook because they're too bored, they don't know what else to do. And then by leaving, they tell me, oh my God, poor children of yours, I've done all the things, I don't know what you'll do without me. I'm like, what did you think, I did before you came? Who do you think took care of my kids, my husband, my family when you were not there? You're right. I'm sure everyone here would have gone through, every woman here have gone through, especially women in India or women in nuclear family would have gone through. So, the change, the actual change in my personality and me not feeling guilty about whatever was happening around my life and the change that I was bringing into my life happened when my older kids said, you never spend time with us. You're only, for you it's only dance students and dance kids. That's when I made it a point to make her realize that what my life was. I started teaching them how to do laundry because up until then I had done their laundries. I started teaching them how to fold. I started teaching them how to do dishes. I started teaching them how to unload dishwashers, how to put in dishwashers. I started teaching them how to mop, sweep because they need to start understanding these are the things that I do for them. That's when they stopped telling. I'm not joking. That's exactly when they were like, I'm done, I'm too tired. And I was like, you don't do this, I don't get to spend time with you. They would crave for movie nights because I would be in kitchen doing all the other work. I would be folding laundries, I would be doing 100 other things. Apart from my Tirana, I'm not even talking about, what struggles I've gone through with Tirana, bringing that, community, audience. I'm not even talking about that. I don't even want to go there. This is just my personal struggle to even put my foot down, and stand up for my self-respect and my rights. So this is when, my kids started understanding that, I do something in the house. I do something in the house. And that is when they actually started helping me around in the house and they truly became mama's little helpers. Right now, they are my pillar of support. I'm emotional, I'm strong, I'm vulnerable, I'm crying. They come sit right next to me, hug me, wipe my tears. I've got a lot of health issues myself. They did all the dishes throughout that period that I was sick. They took care of me exactly the way I took care of them, and they made me realize this. They would tell me all these stories that you did for us. That is how we learn. It was very important for me to teach this to my kids because they are girls and they need to understand they have a choice. They can be housewives if they want to be, or they can be working women if they want to be. And they need to understand they can say no, and they need to understand they can say yes. They need to understand that when they turn back and look at me, I'm standing right behind. And if they make any mistake, I am not there for them. And these are the things I've made very clear. I don't know where they'll be, when they grow up. They might become criminals, they might become beautiful people. I don't know. But it's my responsibility to give them these, confidence that I did not get from my mother. Again, you remember that disclaimer, right? Don't forget that. But I had my share of struggle, I was alone when I wanted to be, career oriented. I was alone when I wanted to be for my dance students. I was alone when I wanted to be a performer. But it was that intention that made me surround with women like Srividya, Nandini, Shrija, to an extent men like Asher, to an extent my husband also who has no interest in Bharatanatyam, also backed me up because I wanted to stand up for myself. Only thing that I have for this audience is as a woman, respect yourself no matter what, because only you can demand that respect if you have that respect for you. I never had that respect for myself and I felt guilty to even ask for that respect. It was very difficult. Only when you have that respect for yourself, you can even stand up and don't care what others think about yourself. But until then, there is nothing that you will do that will favor, what you want to do or how you want to think. It's only that respect, that self-respect. It doesn't matter if it's husband, in-laws, mother, father, kids. Respect yourself first. Everybody will learn to respect you. They don't need to know how to respect you, they will learn. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Megha. I think we all can relate to what she said, right? We all just saw our life, at least I saw mine. But yes, self-respect. Unless you learn, unless we learn to respect ourselves, how are we going to teach our kids? Or how are we going to teach our next generation how to respect their partners? Or how to respect their friends? And that is all about. Everything will fall into the groove once you stand up. It will. Let's learn to believe that. We are so scared, right? We are so scared. What will they do without me? I was taking night shift because I thought I cannot or they cannot cook anything. They cannot do anything without me. That was the point when I was doing night shift. But I really, what is a little bit hard about night shift? You will lose the next day too. Because we will be sleeping. And then again the third day, you are going to night shift. You will lose the fourth day too. So I didn't realize that. So what I was doing is, I was thinking like, okay, I can come back and cook in the morning. And I can make everything, my kids are there. So by the time, literally I did that. So then, by the time they all are going back to bed, I'm going to work. Isn't it so nice? That's what we will think, but no. But again, when I started day shift, I recently changed my post to management post. I was doing weekends. I was just doing 2 days a week, so that again I can take care of my family. I know Sinu is sitting there. But still. So that is what my thought. I can be home 5 days a week, and just 2 days. And let me tell you, it was expected, or just I felt like, again, they cannot do anything without me. That was I was thinking the whole time. But then, I don't know how I realized it, maybe I talked with my friends, like, what are they going to do without me? I want to step up, I want to do my career, what are they going to do without me? So let's give it a try. So I convinced him, that will be okay, I will do it. Yes, it's hard. It's hard. Working Monday through Friday is very hard when compared to weekends. But still I have my Friday nights, Saturdays and Sundays. Megha, I can relate to your mom because my mom asked me the same question. Yes, it's like, if you don't have time for you and your kids, why are you going behind NANMA? Somebody else will do that. Same thing, yes. So we very well can relate to it. So, next person, many of you know Krishna. Krishna as a strong, independent entrepreneur. When woman, I think real estate, I don't know if I'm right. You have got points too.
Okay. I'm going to speak about it. I have no idea, but we'll see.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. It's most a male-dominant field, like, isn't or was it?
No, actually no. It's actually a very female-dominated. And I'm going to stand for it because I can't speak like these women. Kudos to you, but
So let me hand it over to you.
yeah,
Let us speak. Yeah.
We're working on think it's still more, I can still be very loud. Okay, guys, I'm Krishna Varma. Most of you know me, and if you don't, this is the time. First, I want to give thanks to the president. I think you spoke so many words. I'm so sorry, I don't know your name. So, Promise? Very good, very good. Thank you. Nice name. Promise. I mean, I think being a man and accepting that being a man, women do most of the work. What you were trying to tell was we do have a lot of mental load that we carry. But most of the people do not know is like, yes, my husband helps me a lot. Okay, but who's going to take care of that mopping? That thing has to be done. The thing is on go, but I mean, most of the thing, Krishna will do it. Or the wife will do it. But it's somebody has to do it. And I mean, if you tell them like, hey, there's something needs to be done, it's like, why did you not tell me? Like, dude, there was a mop, there was a keep it, yeah. Okay, but yeah, you guys have told such an amazing stories. I'm really, really blown over, and almost we all shared something similar. I don't have kids, I have 2 dogs, 2 birds, 1 husband. Training them like, you know how training husbands go, and I think Darshana and all people sitting here, they know my jokes are stupid and crazy, but I'll keep you entertained, hopefully. I'm an engineer. I am an honors graduate. I'm from Bombay University. My name is still on one of the boards. I'm confident, I've always been this confident because I've been known as a rebel. I'm the youngest of 3 siblings. I'm the only daughter. And yet being the only daughter, you're lucky you got a lot of love. I did not. I come from a very strong patriarchal family where the guy would not even go up and take a glass of water. And if you say, hey, I mean, even if you're coming at 8:30 in the night versus my hours were, when I was working with Sintel in India, I used to leave house by 7:30. Let's say 7:30, I used to leave the house and come back around 9:30. Yet my brother would leave at 8:30, get up easily, we'll have all the food and everything there. And then when he comes back, he will be 7:30 back home. Or just keep in mind, I have 12 hours, I have 1.5 hour journey, I'm struggled, I walk and blah, blah, blah. And I was thinner that time too, but that's fine. So I would walk, come back, and my brother would come back, I would be in my room, coming dressed, change my dress, come back to the dining room to sit down and talk to my parents. My brother would be there feeding himself, and he'd say, hey, give me a glass of water. And keep in mind, I just entered. I'm not like, oh, hey, just entered. And I said, no, why don't you go and get up, get a glass of water and just be respectful. No. My parents would yell at me, you can't respect your brother. It's not about humanity, it's about being a boy and being a girl. Okay? That's fine, I have gone through that all my life. All my life, it's just like all of yours, I still go through it. I've been published in several journals. Most of you know from Indian Hour days also. We have been published in several food magazines. I still get calls. I still have to tell them you're more than welcome to come to my house. You all are too. And it's okay. We will take care of the burden and no money involved. You're almost all the time welcome. I don't know where I was going with that, but when you sit there, you feel like, I'll do it. Then you just you get the palpitations initially, like, what am I going to speak? And then you prepare, no, I'm good. So, record kar rahe, mute kar do yaar. Okay. Most of you know, or I make presence as a realtor, right? There were realtors before me. There were. But they did not pursue this thing that seriously that I did. Okay? They were always about they wanted to have a real estate license for themselves. Talking about community, yes, I have license and I get paid. Yes, I get really paid very good, and we'll talk about it later. But my goal was to serve the community and let them know that there is a person who's representing for their interest. Not for just because, hey, the paycheck is good, struggle is also good. I'm gonna go back a little bit on my Walmart days. Not many people know, and this is very, very common. Can you imagine a strong person like, thanks Rashmi for introducing me as a strong person, I'm opinionated also. When you stand here, Krishna, oh my God, Krishna, but do you know I have been suicidal? Take a minute on that. So I've been suicidal, I've been sitting in that bathtub, you take a knife and you feel like, nahi, yaar, I'm done. I'm not so sure how many times you all have gone through that, thought process of what am I doing? What is my purpose? You all go through it. There is not a single moment where I don't cry, I don't get mad at people. I mean, of course, I get mad at a lot of people. That's fine. But I go through that journey which you all also go through. We are also human beings. We go through the same thing. We get up in the morning. We have no clue what we are doing. We're just like, okay, as a machine, we get up in the morning. Okay, emails, and then okay, fine, chai peena hai, bathroom jana, and then that's all we do. And then we come back. Same, like nobody can tell you, okay, I am very defined today, I'm gonna win over. No, we have tons of failures. Tons and tons of failures. You do not even know where my journey starts. I have no idea whether I'm gonna win this case or win this buyer or win this seller. God knows every number of ways I'm fighting for something or the other. Right? So, I'm well prepared there. I'm supposed to know everything, right? See, I brought this paper, I'm supposed to do that formality thing, right? And I don't know, I'm speaking after a long time, I'm shivering like hell. And they were also shivering, okay?
That's why we sat.
If I sit, I will be like, done. This is the energy that I have, the excitement,
You don't shiver here.
See, when they were speaking, I was very excited because I can chip in whatever. Yes, means the same. I think these ladies presented a lot of great things, One of the things that really connected me with you was the law of attraction. Right? What law of attraction says is Om Shanti Om. Have you all seen Om Shanti Om? Same thing with a bottle. जिसे तुम जितना शिद्दत से जिस चीज को चाहने की कोशिश करो, and it's true. Because I wanted to marry Prince William. My parents thought, oh no, you're too dark. You'll never get to marry him. So I dropped the plan.
I was too tall and too dark. I think I was not marriageable.
And now he's married to what? Sorry, it's Prince Harry, I think, right? He's married to, yeah, and totally divorcing and no, I'm not against it. It's no joke. It's just a joke thing that hey, if she can be there, why can't I be? I mean, I'm married by Prince. I have to say that here on stage, please. So I could have been that. I could have been that princess of so many something. But I also believe that when I prayed for my partner, I prayed change. I mean, most of the things. Yeah, he does mop. That was a good example that I was giving you, but he gets up in the morning, it's for me, he cleans for me. I do cook. Most of the time I get a question, do you ever cook? I'm like, no, I do cook. It just comes out that being a strong woman, being a busy woman, I might not. My time in the kitchen is spent very less, but I would love. Just like all you all, being a woman, this comes so integral part of us. We want to take care of the family. We have been programmed so well by the society that oh my God, a woman's job is to do that. Okay, it's just even if I don't tell you.
So it's what, as if that's the only thing you can do.
It's just, acha, mera bachcha hai, I'll have to take care of it. And I hope you all understand a bit of it. Just like I said, my accent and my whole thing changes suddenly. So, why am I changing? When losing thought, I should not even look at you guys. I just changed the thoughts altogether. I was good at disturbing you, distracting you and all that. So, I just wrote 3 points, 15 minutes time, which I've already taken. So I'm going to read this, try to explain and make points to it. My journey was not as similar to you all, and your journey will also be different. So I can't tell you, oh my God, I can do it, you can do it. I think that's very cliche. I can do it, you can do it. No. There will be something that would be, you have a chain that ties you down. It is so much related to your your childhood, something is dragging you down. You just have to figure out what it is. Once you have figured that out, you can break it. I mean, and knowing that how you can break it is also another challenge. I was raised the same way. I'm supposed to take care of my family. I'm not supposed to have a voice. I'm not supposed to be an engineer. My parents wanted me to be an arts graduate, just because women can't work. And having the same thing. If you read so much, you will never get a guy. And I'm like, fine. I don't want a guy. So you just typical society is what I was born and brought up. So my experience, your expenses cannot be same, no matter how, even if you're standing me as a realtor or any person out there, it's not going to be the same thing. It's not even possible. Okay, so just figure out what your experiences are making you, what are they training you to be, figure that out. Now, the first point I wrote was trust your journey. I've always trusted my journey. Have I cried about it? Hell yeah. The first time I bought a house when I joined Walmart was in 2011. Yes, there was cows. There were a lot of cows. In 2011, right? And I knew it. I knew that I wanted to have a house. I was recently married, maternal instinct, and that's all. We'll settle and have kids kind of thing. But I knew I wanted a house. Do you know how many people were against me buying my first home? Yeah, my husband is just holding up his hand. I'm like, yeah, I mean, almost everybody. Luckily, my parents did not know my plan at least, unless they would also have joined me. Hey, you don't need a house, come back. Everybody. And people gave me that mota books, like these huge books, why not to buy a house. And for anything you want in this era, how not to be and how to be, you will find all the books. Whichever you name it, you will have all the books you needed. I was reading them. I was trying to find why people are saying not to buy a house, and I said, no, I'm going to listen to myself. This is very normal in my industry. When I see people saying, I want to buy a house because my friend bought a house. Don't do that. Please don't do that. They are not going to pay your bills. Plan your journey in your way, in your style. Okay? This is very, very common that I want to break as a culture that I've seen that, okay, my friend did it. Why? I don't care. I want to eat the same thing what my friend did it. But when it comes to saying, we say, so that's what I'm saying. You have to figure out what is feasible for you. And then that's it. I have to look into it, guys. I'm also nervous. Many people, when I talk about journey, starting up your own thing, I also say, even when you have a buyer's consultation with me, I'll say, hey, trust your gut. No matter what I tell you about a house, if you feel it, your gut will never take you wrong. Very normal statement, very, very scripted statement. You'll always hear. Many people, when you start something, right? Do you know when I first got my investment home, what I got an answer for? I would say, who will rent for you? Who will rent for you? That was one thing that demotivated me like crazy. And I said I would never share my success with you. And we'll talk about success too. So I always tell you, if there is a thing that tells you, I want to be creative, I want to have my pictures, drawings celebrated around the world, do it. Who's stopping? There's nobody stopping, and there's nobody who's going to fight for your thing more than you do. And you say, Krishna, but I have around, first, most of the things I get is my working visa. I have H1, I have H2, I have H4. I've gone through that, and I've done it. Most of the people live in that fear, what if? What if my H1 goes away? Just because I am excited about drawing, creating that art, or I'm drawing, creating some business that I'm pursuing. Let me tell you, USA is one of the best countries to start your own business. You have so much motivation, there's so much freedom to be something. If you are desiring to dream, which you should, then this is the right place to start. And specifically Arkansas, because there's a need for entrepreneurs. There's a need for Indian skill set. Okay, I think there's so much need that I can assure you that there is a pot of gold out there and you all can have it. Okay, so of course you're gonna take that risk. I always, when it comes to risk taking, I always say, do you all sleep at night? You all do, right? If you're not, then probably, you all do. Do you know you're taking a risk? What if you don't get up on the next day? You all do. You all are taking the risk, but the risk is so comfortable and the need of the hour. You're not taking the risk going away and doing something that you really want to do. So the comfort zone is not something that you're all ready to leave.
You're doing great.
I'm about to leave, guys. Hold on. So next thing I'll say is know your value. This is very, very close to my heart. Very close to my heart. Indian dollar days, right? One of the vada pav would sell for $5 or something. I don't remember the rate right now, but it was gruesome experience. We were never cutting short our ingredients. We were never having some frozen or something, so it was always fresh. We did a lot to keep it real. I mean, keep yawning. Just give me 2 minutes and we'll all sleep. Chai, let's start giving that. Okay, so many people would come to our window and say, hey, you're just charging $5. You are charging $5. You are just a food truck. You need not charge like restaurant. They don't consider the labor that's involved. That's a different story. We never reduced our price. We never reduced our price. We were never there. Because if you don't know your value, nobody else will. Most of the biggest thing that I see in Indian culture, I'm sorry, I'm just not making it as a woman thing, because I don't believe in gender inequality. I've been there, done it. I'm going to make it this way that, this is the mindset that we are trained with. Indians will cut each other a lot. If I sell for $5, oh, you have to come this side, I'll sell you for $4. Why? Rather, I'll sell for $10 actually. Go there, sell it for $10 and make it count. At the time of our closing of Indian Dhaba, because of the pandemic, I had invitations from five breweries, and I was not even interested to expand. I still have invitations for. So we on and off, when somebody pinches me, hey Krishna, we want it. So on the Facebook we say, hey, we're coming back. Then our motivation dies up because we have no idea what we're doing. So we have decided to make it as an invitation only. So we just do it only for small private parties. We're still open, but we are not open to public, and we keep our value very high. Even for we never charge them anything. We said whatever you feel comfortable, you give it, because that goes to any of the charities. We supported a girls only school during pandemic for the event we just did with Crystal Bridges and Blake Street. So anything we earn with Indian Haba, we just give it back. Now when I was at Walmart, I was being told that I'm not good at planning. I'm being very opinionated. I'm this, I'm that, I'm not gelling with the client and everything. I did that, and probably it was right. It's a good feedback to have. But guess what? Where I stand right now, my opinion is very much validated. My experience is very much counted on. I do get consultations, there are people who just like, hey, we want to work with you rather than anything else. And I'm not talking about Indian clientele, no. I have an American clientele that actually just have heard my name, they've seen what I've done, and they follow wherever I say, hey, this is the property you're going to buy, they have bought it. Coming up from a girl standing in this position, it might look like an arrogance. Trust me, when I say, hey, no, they follow my lead, it's normal. This is how we are programmed, that if a woman comes with an authority, it looks really bad on her character. But if the same thing, a man was standing here and telling you the same dialogue that I told you, guess what, it will come up. Look at him. Right? So give that thought. I've always, and I'm one of them. I'm not going to say, oh my God, I've come out clean. No, if I see some woman standing, she'll be like, I'll tell you, this girl is like, no, yeah. I will do that too. But you sit down, back up a little bit. Are you doing the right thing? Are you really, is it a gender biased thought process in the back of your mind? Is that what is compelling you to think or program yourself in the way that you're doing? So that's few things that I've noticed. If sometimes I'm talking to a very strong strong women who have been in this industry for longer than mine, I just sit back and relax. Would I have reacted the same way had the person who was telling me to do something was a man? And if my answer is no or different, then yes, I would reframe my question, reframe my personality, and act differently. Okay? Hopefully the last point. Stay humble. Okay. Now, how many of you know that I'm also an investor? And you're all you're going to say yes and yes. I mean, you can stand here, right? I'm an investor. Okay. I have few properties in my portfolio, and I would love all of you to be investors too, and I design them. I'm probably the only company that does it in this area. So generating more, real estate wealth. That's what I think. I forgot here, guys. I have too much going on. I have to still see what my assistant is working on. My property manager is still, yelling at me. When I acquired my first 7 properties, I was still with Walmart. It was 2014, 13. It was 2013. Jayesh was also out in India, and I went to meet this guy who had under his wing around 400 units, 400 houses at that time. So you see 7 units, you see 300 units. It's a huge gap. It's a huge gap. But you are an Indian. Anytime you have a position in promotion, you're like, oh, you get that arrogance. It's very normal with our culture. There's a saying that the amount of promotion we get, the ego doubles. Right? A manager will have a different ego, the senior manager will have different ego, and then our arrogance and our personalities are tied to that title, and which is wrong. So, but I'm the same person. I'm from the same background as yours. So I'm walking to this office. Hey, I have 7 properties. Just 7 properties, and this guy 300. He gets up from the chair, welcomes me very nicely, and I realized what I was missing. And I was wrong. It just taught me how to stay humble. You always never lose your ground. So even though right now we are very successful in real estate right now, but I still hopefully that the whole process that I went through keeps me humble. Just don't. You are something for yourself. If I'm a broker, I'm for myself. I'm not for all of you. Who cares if whatever I am? I don't care. I don't care anything. I've talked to directors the same way. I've talked to CEOs the same way I would talk to a janitor. And I hope I do the same thing. Sometimes I do miss that point, and I have to always recollect, realize that no, I have to stay down to earth, because it just opens up more doors. It makes you more approachable. That hey, you can approach me. Okay. So, anyways, these were the 3 points. I'm sure I can go on and on and on and on. But long story short, whatever these ladies says, ditto. Copy paste, yeah. I mean, come on, we do that, right? I'm an engineer. I'm supposed to Control C, Control V, Control C, Control V. Been there, done that. But I think I'm going to end with being thankful to you, Shweta. I think if you did not exist, should I be thankful to your parents when you did not exist?
For sure.
Right? This story you shared was so inspirational. Because had you not been here, had you not gone through this experience you have gone through, Ravi would have not been here. Ravi would not have been here. We would not be here. This whole stage would not be here. So I think I'm really, you need to have that. I mean, I'm not getting the words. Come on, yeah. I was helping you all with the speeches, yeah. Come on.
Pictures don't help.
Right? I think this community owes you a lot. This community owes you a lot for what you have done, what stage you are giving, and thank you for that. But anyways, yes, you can clap. Thank you. And I also want to let you know that I'm the only real estate brokerage Indian real estate brokerage in Northwest Arkansas. That means I'm not a realtor. Thank you. I'm not only a realtor, but I'm also a level up. I have done certifications and classes and blah blah blah. I don't know what all I can say. That brings me that I have my own company, and that, my dear, that's a big thing. That's a huge thing, because not everybody what you see is certified to the level we are. And I take this with a pride. We call it a little arrogance or something, because it took me a lot of effort to where I stand here right now. As a matter of fact, the minute I opened my firm, we're talking about no's. The minute I opened my firm, within 6 months I had a lawsuit against me, and from an American company. Because I, being an Indian, had a lot of demographic control versus now they're scared that I would eat up their business, which did happen. So I don't blame them, but I won the case because racism, because as much as racism is not about you're dark and fair, it's not about that. It's about the fear, it's about them fearing who's, I would be superior to them. I did eat up their business once I started up. If I had not been there, all of you would go to them directly, that's normal. But since they have representations, now most of the Indians come to me, that's true. So their business did suffer a lot. And just for the sufferance is why I was actually blamed for something. So I'm thankful that I did win that case. But the trauma that it did me, because keep in mind, they're right. Nobody stands with you. Nobody stood next to me when I was crying, I was going through so much of pain, because nobody would understand what I was going through. I don't have any realtor mentor actually in this industry, because all the mentors that I have are whites. What am I going to talk to them? Am I going to say, hey, tell me? Because they are not even seeing the difference. Do you think when I go to realtors, they will talk to you nicely because they're getting a business, guys? There's a difference between how you treat your competitor versus how you treat your client. And that's the difference. Anyways, I think my time is up finally. Hopefully, guys. But Rashmi, thank you so much. One last thing I want to let you know that being a nurse, which I came to know later because I had to go through the profile to see who I was meeting. I think nurses and doctors and teachers, you all go through something known as very thankless jobs. Nobody, you can clap because this is the thanks to them, and then I'll wrap up. These guys go through something. She was working late night because she had this fulfillment, and there's a purpose I have to do. I want to help my clients, patients in that case, and the patient, they say, hey, thank you, you did a small thing, it's nothing. It's just so thankful. You feel so happy about it. So doctors, nurses, and specifically pandemic, how many of you call your teachers back? Out of 100 students, one person would call. You remember them, but you just don't call them. How thankless their jobs are. How less paid they are. Success are these teachers, these service people who go through everything, handling their family, handling everything, and still help you all to be happy. The community is educated, community is healthy, community is safe, where soldiers are fighting, be it Ukraine or be it anything. So my big thanks to the success that you all show up. It's not us, it's you. So, yeah.
Thank you, Krishna. What a wonderful story to listen to, right? Okay, now let's open the discussion to you guys. I'm pretty sure we all have a story to share. So, doesn't matter if you want to, it don't matter if you want to come up here or you can say, or however you want to share something, or if you want to say that, hey, I want to say something, which is this is what matters. Or you can always say that, no, I don't think you're right, you're wrong. It could have been this way. Whatever your opinion is, it matters. So, it is not just a woman. Anybody can ask that. I can.
Yes, once that to be one example, like they said what are the difficulties they went through, right? So I don't want I just want to thank you guys because you were so vulnerable saying that what are the hard part you went through, right? So thank you for that, and that gives us courage to step up and move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Hima. Go ahead.
Hi ladies, my question is really around imposter syndrome. I don't even want to ask if you go through it because I know you all go through it, but how do you handle imposter syndrome is basically self-doubt.
So you're not good enough.
You're not good enough.
Self-doubt, okay.
Yes, if you get successful at some point, you are thinking, do I really deserve this success?
Yes.
So I'm sure all of you go through it, and Sangeeta had great points about the seat at the table, right? So in my job, I work with five white men, and I'm the only brown woman representing there. And I always feel like it takes me an extra effort to think if I'm making sense, if I'm speaking something substance, while they can say anything and get away with it. So my question is, how do you all handle these things? Do you self-doubt? Do you feel like you deserve it? Or do you just go through it and just pick up and move on?
Every single time. We go through everything that you all go through.
How do you handle it?
Ignore it. I probably am one of those, I just ignore it. I mean, I don't I really, so
Look, I said, the confidence with me was always there because I failed so much that I don't care. I don't care. Do you think they're worried about whether I say something or not? If they have to judge you or if they have to undermine you, guess what? They will do it no matter what and where you are. Now, it's easier said than done. Ask our spouses. I think the number of countless times we ask them to encourage us. So and unfortunately, now I want to add one more point was, we women can be our own enemies, or we can be on, growth potential. Like, always, it's easier said than done. It's including me. I can be jealous of your success, even if I'm your best friend, and it's normal. But I hope we don't do that, and I hope we just encourage it. Long story short, my only thing is close your eyes, be that deaf frog, and just keep doing what you do. You will have to encourage yourself. You know yourself way better than anybody else. So the self-doubt is coming because you're comparing yourself to somebody from else, and they don't even care about you. They don't. So
Yeah. Another option, another recommendation would be like, we all go through it, for sure. We admit every single time, right? But with experience, with practice, practice makes everything perfect, right? It's just through experience that you can learn. And always rely on somebody. There is going to be someone out of the 5 men that you work with, right, on a regular basis, somebody that you feel free to talk to, right, like because they are similar or they care talking to you or responding to you. Use them as a sounding board, right? Like before you go into a meeting, you have an idea. He's your colleague, he's your peer. Talk to him about what you think about this idea, right? This is something, and be open, right? Like there are a lot of people out there who want to help. Probably they don't come forward. But if you were to share, I am always in doubt when I go into a meeting, and I would like you to be my mentor, for me to just prepare with it, right? And simple things like that would help you. And then you continue to do it, and eventually you will feel confident. Actually, it is a skill that you have to build, right? Like with time it will come, but don't give up. That's what. And you don't have to do it on your own. There are people like you. That's why I mentioned about a community. You always have to identify, and it changes, right? Like it doesn't have to stick with. Today it's communication skills, probably. Tomorrow it's influential skills, something else that people are looking for in you, right? To be successful. But find somebody or a group of people who are going through this similarly, have gone through before you, right? Don't hesitate to ask for help.
So my issue really is like in the meeting, I'm super confident, or maybe I fake it till I make it. but when I am all by myself is when I'm wondering how did it go? Did I make sense?
Yeah.
And that's where the struggle is.
Affirmation.
Yes.
That's when you have to follow that.
I have done it every morning, every night. I do that. One of the other things that I also do is pretty loud, yeah. Anyways, wait. One of the other things I do is sleep hypnosis. So most of the time it's the night. I'm very anxious at night. So I would not sleep and I put on my headphone. People try podcasts and everything, but that's not my cup of tea most of the time. But I usually try sleep hypnosis and it helps me rejuvenate a lot. Similar to your meditation, if you want to. But affirmation is your best friend. Keep doing it. It's not going to be a one-day thing. It's, to me also, even at this place, it still takes me a lot of time to make a thought strong. I can do it. Because I think every day we will find something or the other come thrown at us, right?
It just goes back to what do you define as success. So ask yourself that question. Was I successful today? What does that mean for you? So it's all connected to the same thing, It's just another facet to that. Ask yourself what is success. Because if success means that, because we expect a certain result, that is why you have that doubt. You have that doubt because you had in your mind, you had a certain vision that this is what should have happened. Oh, but it didn't happen that way. You had a movie running, oh, this means meeting was successful, but that didn't happen. But you missed that, success happened in a different way. So sometimes it's just that you think that it should have happened a certain way and it didn't, and therefore you start doubting yourself that, oh, I must have done something wrong because it didn't look like that, it didn't feel like that. So
yeah, that's a great point, Shruvidya. And also, we often think that we have to be perfect, right? It's when you leave a room after your meeting, it's good to drop that off, right? Sometimes, drop it. You focus on your next meeting, what you can do, right? It's easy to say, but you have to reflect back for you to improve. So what she said about, what is making you unhappy after you leave that meeting? Something is still bothering you, right? You did not do that part of the presentation there or something. Try to find out what it is that is not making you happy and feel accomplished, right? Yeah, but sometimes it is like, if it's a repeated behavior that you are seeing for yourself, I think it's easy to drop it, right? Like focus on your next meeting, and with practice you will get better and you'll stop feeling that way, I think.
It's also genetical. Sorry? It's also genetical. In the way women are.
Like that.
No, I'm not gonna that. No. So what I was trying to tell was, women generally are not confident on what I'm confident here, but throw me with 5-6 more authoritative men. Guess what? Even I would, because the way I've been societally programmed and genetically, just because I'm a woman, that would kick in and I would start undermining myself. So keep that also in mind, that the cognitive behavioral theory, like how your brain thinks. Is it thinking because of you just put that scenario out? Why are you feeling that? Can you control that environment? Or if you can't control the environment, can you control your thinking? So I believe you're very confident. I was standing there, I saw, while I was talking, of course, I saw my audience. I believe you come out very strong, very confident. Fake it till make it is a great thing. I've done it. I've done it several times. It was every time. So, but yes, be mindful of that the reason you're feeling that is probably just because. It is not that you did something wrong. Trust me, most of the time women are very strong, very right, because they're not cocky half the time. Sorry, man. They're not cocky. They're just trying to. You are yourself fighting with the generational programming that you've gone through. So just give yourself a pat on the back. Every time you think, no, I did good. Can I do better? It's always. I think we all can do better. How we spoke or how we did. I can assure you, I'm like once I go back home, I'm gonna reconvene. Did I do the right thing? You know, so you will go through it. Versus a man would not. I did a great thing. Well, then that's a benefit. So no, just relax. You did great, and you will do good.
Thank you, guys. Anyway, anything that you guys can want to ask?
I want to ask something. No, I don't want to ask anything, but I want to say something. Thank you for all you do. But who I really want to appreciate is my mom. How much time she takes to help us, help NANMA, and help her job. I mean, she's an ADON, she works nights. In the middle of all that, you should be proud the way you raised him. It's very good. She also has to take care of me and my sister, and she has to help Nanma. But at the middle of all of this, she has her job, so she's really busy with all of it. So I like it how she takes her time, tries to make everyone happy, and helps everyone.
I don't think I can ask for anything more. This is not scripted. Trust me, guys, this is not scripted. There you go. Yes. I will. Divya.
So good evening all. My name is Divya. So I had some questions in my mind, but you all covered everything. Well spoken, well said. The thing is, when we go home, I think we're all taking 4 important points that you all mentioned. So one from Srividya ma'am, which is success, and Sangeeta ma'am, it is seat at the table, and make rounds, self-respect, and you ma'am Krishna Varma, it is be humble, confident, stay grounded. So it is really nice. So we take this home, all the important 4 points, and we'll reach out to you all in future if you have more questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Divya. I don't think we can conclude it beautifully. You concluded it really well. Thank you so much. And again, as you guys said, thank you so much for taking time and spending time. It was so beautiful to listen to them. Again, these ladies are not just telling that you have to do this, you have to do that. They are showing us they are doing it. So we all can do. Take home something and think about it. I'm not telling that, or I'm not expecting that you will change overnight. We are not. So take some time, think over it, and yes, do we really have to change? Because the one thing I feel about change is everybody surrounding us will change, and if you will be so reluctant to change, you will be forced to change, which won't be a nicer transition to go through. So let's all change, not just for ourselves, for our daughters, for our daughter-in-laws, and for a future generation to come. Thank you so much, and let me invite Divya and Melvin to express our gratitude.
Thank you, Rashmi.
I'm matching with you. I'm also
very satisfied that she's seeing paper in your hand.
Just tell me, when I came and then, oh, you got paper, and I'm like, don't tell me that. I don't know what I wrote, what I speak, and what it comes out, right?
Respected panelists and my dear friends, a warm good evening to one another. It's my great privilege to be here to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion, Mythri 22, on behalf of NANMA. First and foremost, on behalf of NANMA, would like to thank you all. You are bold, beautiful, and brilliant panelists. Srividya, Sangeeta, Veka, and Krishna. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation and sharing your inspirational stories. Give them a big round of applause. Next, on behalf of NANMA, I would like to thank each one of you who have gathered here. You have been such a lovely audience. Thank you so much. And when you are watching us online, thanks for being awesome. I would like to extend a huge thank you to Sri Vidya and Ravi Cultural Foundation for partnering with NANMA and giving such a lovely place for us to execute Mythri 22. Give them a big round of applause. Special thanks to the inevitable part of NANMA, Mr. Nitin, for your continuous support and help. Last but not the least, I would like to thank the organizers of Mythri 22, especially Rashmi. She has done an awesome job from the planning to execution. And all the executive committee members of NANMA for putting enormous effort to make this happen so gracefully. Thank you so much. Thank you and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you, ladies. Hope you all had a wonderful time. And we have some snacks and tea arranged. So let's all enjoy it and have a good night.